ladies, and welcome to yet another Training Tuesday. It is Tuesday, it is July 20th, and we are here tonight to talk about the one key to success, which I know sounds a little bit like overpromising, but there really is just one key to success in everything. And that's what I want to talk about tonight, is what is this one key that unlocks for us the ability to have joy, to feel empowered, to accelerate our careers, to get that promotion, to get that raise, to achieve whatever it is we want to achieve in our work. What is that one key that also at the same time helps us accelerate our career success, actually helps us accelerate our relationship success, that helps us become more intimate with our partners, that helps us be more patient, more understanding with our kids, that helps us connect better with our friends. When it comes to our work, when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to building this life of ours that we love, that we want to love, there really genuinely is one key that underpins all of it. So tonight, that is what we're going to talk about. I want to talk about the fact that we lose this key a lot. We all have the key. We all have it somewhere. We have access to it. We hold on to it. We all have the key, but we do lose it a lot. And so I want to talk about, how do we reconnect? How do we find that key when we lose it? What do we do when we lose it? How do we know when we've lost it? And then what's the difference, right? How do we show up when we found it again, right? How do we know the difference? So I have my monitor over here tonight. So hey, Christine, you're here. And I was just going to say hello in the chat. Tell me where you're from. I am Natalie Hahn with Dirty Girls Consulting. And for those of you joining us for Training Tuesday, if you haven't joined before, we are here every Tuesday live in the group to talk about a different topic. And tonight's topic is this one key to it all. These are short trainings. We run them about 30 minutes. Sometimes they're less, sometimes they're a little bit more. And I'm very happy to have you guys joining us. So when you join, say hello in the chat. Tell me where you're from. Ask your questions as we go. Make your comments, participate. The more interactive it is, the more fun it tends to be. And this topic tonight is kind of a heavy one, and I know that. So I am going to dive right in. So this one key, I want to talk a little bit about why this is so important. And it's because of the way that it shows up. When we lose the key, our behavior changes. When we lose the key, we do things like not make decisions without getting a whole bunch of other opinions first. Right? We ask a whole bunch of other people what they think because we're not really sure which way to go because we're afraid. When we lose the key, we are afraid that we might make a wrong choice, that we might disappoint somebody, that it could just go all sideways, and that keeps us stuck. When we lose the key, we live in a place of fear about things going wrong and how they're going to go wrong and what that all means. When we lose the key and we get criticism, or we see something's not going right, we tend to get really hard on ourselves. We're very harsh and judgmental about ourselves. And we pile onto then anything we've thought or any mistake we've made, we pile onto that a whole bunch of like guilt and shame and anxiety, right? We pile on all these negative emotions that just compound our feeling of fear that we're going to make a mistake, that we can't do anything right. When we lose the key, the gremlin comes up. The gremlin voice that says, you're not good enough and you're never going to be good enough, right? That voice. That is the voice that keeps us playing small. Because when we lose the key, we're listening to this voice saying that we're not enough. We're listening to this voice saying we're not perfect. We'll never get it right. And what do? We start dialing ourselves back. Because we're not good enough, we can't take the risk. So we start playing small. We don't make choices that further our career or that are a little bit risky. We don't step up as a leader because we might be wrong. So there's a lot of consequences to this concept of, to this key and the impact that it takes. We don't take leaps, we play it safe. Sometimes we don't make any decisions at all, we don't move at all. The most troubling piece, the most difficult piece about this, when we lose this key, is we carry an attitude of, and it's a belief a lot of us carry. We carry this belief that says, I'm going to keep my expectations low, and that way I'll never be disappointed. So if that's you, if you say to yourself, because you've applied for a job and you're really excited about it because you've got an interview, or you've gone on a date and it went really well and you're kind of excited for the next one, or you've bought a lottery ticket, right? Anything that you've set yourself up for, when our immediate reaction is, I'm going to keep my expectations low, and that way if it doesn't work out, I won't be disappointed, we've lost our key. Because I want to talk about what the energetic impact of that is. But I will tell you first what this key is, because it's important for you to understand what the key is. I have a bunch of notes, so I'm looking down to make sure that I'm covering all the things I want to cover tonight, because this is a topic, like I said, I think this one's meaty and it's really important. The one key that unlocks success across all areas of our lives. It's not, and I've heard this before, so if you have a guess, you're welcome to drop a guess in the chat and let me know what you think it is. I would be curious to hear what your comments are to that, right? The one key is not self-care, which is one that I hear a lot. If I took better care of myself, I'd be more in alignment with myself, and then I would make better decisions. It's actually a big part of it, but that's not it. And it's not that you need more training, more education, or more of anything. The thing that you need, the one thing that is the key to unlocking happiness across all areas, is self-trust. It's trusting yourself. It's trusting your instincts. It's trusting your perceptions. It's trusting your gut. It's trusting, and I say this all the time, your knowledge, your experience, and your intuition. It is self-trust. So, what does this look like? I'm just going to make sure that we are here. Okay, so what does this look like? Self-trust looks like awareness. It is an awareness of your thoughts and your feelings. You know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what it means, what your values are. You know who you are. You know what makes you happy. You know what you want. So number one part of self-trust is your awareness. Number two, when we have this awareness, we start creating boundaries. We start creating boundaries that help us create a life that we want. We often think about creating boundaries as protecting ourselves and keeping things out, which is true. There's a function of that. But boundaries is also about protecting a space for you to grow. It's about ensuring that you have the right environment, the right people, the right mix of everything in your space so that you can create the life you love. So know who you are, know what you value, know what's important to you, and then start creating the boundaries, right? When we have self-trust, we have the boundaries that allow us to build it, that allow us to create the vision. Self-trust is also acknowledging when we've lost that key. When we've lost the key to self-trust, what does that look like? Right? We recognize I am out of touch, I'm out of alignment with what's important to me. So I have to take some time and figure out how to reconnect. And the fourth element is we make choices, we consciously make choices that keep us in alignment. That keep us in alignment with the values, with our thoughts and our feelings, with the boundaries that we've set. So it's making sure that we're in alignment across all four areas, that we know our thoughts and feelings and our values, so we know who we are, we know what we want, that we've established boundaries that help us build this life that we want, that we know when we need to step back because we've lost our key and we need to reconnect again, reevaluate again what those values are, what those boundaries are, and are they working for us? And we need to enforce We need to enforce those boundaries. And that's probably the most important one, because that's the one where we get the most flexible. Okay? But let's talk about how we get to this place of distrust first, because I think this is important to understand. A lot of times we sit there going, no, I don't trust myself. And when I'm alone, I like myself fine. I don't give in on my boundaries. And that may be very true. But here's what happens. When we are alone and we do the navel gazing of this is what I want in my life and this is what it should look like, and we don't have anything pushing against it, it's great. We feel confident. We feel good about that. We get tested the minute someone else comes into our orbit, and now we have to make choices that includes or excludes this other person and what they want. And this other person can be a partner, can be a husband or a boyfriend or a life partner or a temporary partner. It can be a friend, it can be a parent, it can be a child. It is anybody who comes into our orbit and has some impact on the choices that we're making. And when that impact becomes us flexing, right, making some compromises and flexing what it is we want out of our lives to accommodate them, this is where we start getting into dangerous territory. Now, I am not a fan of having such rigid rules and rigid boundaries that they're not flexible and that you're going to be impossible to deal with because it's your way or the highway. However, there are some areas in lives where, in your life where, it needs to be your way or the highway. And there are some areas where we have room for flexibility without getting out of alignment with our actual integrity and what we want. So that's why being conscious about what your boundaries are and conscious about the choices you are making to enforce those boundaries, it's critical to your sense of self-trust. Because we get to this place of lack of trust. We don't trust ourselves. Oftentimes it's coming from old patterns. So when we don't trust ourselves, it might be because, and so I talked about this a few weeks ago, right? A few weeks ago I talked about the fact that I made a few decisions and they were not good decisions. I'd made a mistake and I just felt like I was getting beat up. And I talked about this on a Training Tuesday, just getting beat up when we make mistakes, and where do we find our resilience, right, to go forward? How do we recover from that so that we keep moving forward? Well, part of recovering from that is the acknowledgement and the awareness, right, of who I am and what I want, and I've got to move forward. But we can move forward and still be locked into this lack of self-trust. And that's what I want to talk about today. It's one thing to be resilient and to keep moving forward. It's another thing to move forward and find that key again to our self-trust so that we're moving forward in a different way. So, and Christine says, I didn't trust my gut, and that's how I got married the first time. Yeah, it's a lot of us did that. But that's the thing, right? We learn early on, we are trained to not trust our gut. Early on, we are often trained to take the advice and opinion of other people. And sometimes this sense of mistrust starts in childhood, right? It starts from having, for example, parents who are very strict, right? If you had a tiger mom or a helicopter parent where your day and your time was scheduled and they determined what you did and when you did it. And when you're in an environment, when you grow up in an environment like that where you're not allowed a lot of freedom or to make a lot of decisions, you never learn to trust yourself because you never have to. Similarly, some of us grow up in environments where our parents are always swooping in and saving us and taking care of us. So we never learn how to save ourselves because somebody else is always there to pick up the pieces and help us. So we're not great at making decisions or choices because we've never had to. There's always been somebody there making the choices for us and making sure it works out okay. Sometimes, to Christine's point, and I have felt this one, you have a bad relationship. And then you mistrust yourself for every future relationship because it's like, I really screwed up on that first one. How am I ever going to pick a Mr. Right? Even a Mr. Right now, when I screwed up so badly with the first one. We don't trust our own judgment to be able to pick the right people. And it's the same thing when it happens at work. We fail on a project, and we all fail at work at some point. So we fail on a project, and then we're afraid to step up and lead the next time because what if I fail again? And what if everybody's watching and suddenly I am actually a failure? Right? So there's a lot of places where this can come from. Previous bad decisions, and then we just keep revisiting that bad decision, which prevents us from taking a proactive step forward. from our conditioning. And here's what happens when we make those mistakes. When somebody else has trained us to not make those choices, we fall into this victim mode where either we feel like we don't have control and we shouldn't have control. The universe is just deciding for us. And we feel a certain amount of shame. If it's one where we've made a bad choice in the past and we're terrified of making that choice again, there's an awful lot of shame, of embarrassment, of anxiety that comes with that. We don't want to make another choice because we don't ever want to be in those shoes again. And so it holds us back. It keeps us from playing big. So Jackie says, when I lose confidence, it's game over. Absolutely. Because we stop making decisions. You guys have heard me talk before about the fact that when we fall into negative energy, we kind of go to two places, right? The lowest level of energy that we fall into is this paralyzed, can't do anything, can't make a decision. And that's what I'm talking about with this energy. The next level of energy, of negative energy, is the angry, I'm going to bulldoze through it energy. And we do get to that. But in this particular case, when we lose the key of self-trust, we go to paralytic mode. We don't want to make a decision. We don't want to make a choice because it could be wrong or we could disappoint somebody. And we never want to be in that position again. But here's the thing about this and about the fact that we bring this energy to the table. We bring this energy of either I never want to be in that position again, or I'm going to set my expectations low so that I'm never disappointed, right? So that if it works out, that's great and that's gravy. And if it doesn't, oh well, I kind of sort of knew it was never going to work out. Here's the trap. I'm going to guess, and this is not scientific, but I'm going to guess at least 80% of the time when you walk into a situation with that attitude, it doesn't work out. And here's why. Because what I do know is that the energy with which we walk into any situation is the driving energy behind success or failure. We can't control what other people are going to say and do, but we do know that they will respond in some way to what we bring to the table, to our energy, to our thoughts, our ideas, and how we show up. When we show up with this energy of, that would be great, I'd love to get that job, but they're probably not going to hire me. What kind of energy is that to walk into an interview with, right? What kind of energy is that to prove to your new potential boss that you are absolutely the best person for the job? When you walk in with the already self-defeating energy of, it would be great, but you've already decided that the but is the outcome that's going to happen. And therefore, what you bring to the table leads much more directly to that outcome rather than the one you really want. So when we come in with this energy of, I don't set my sights too high so I'm never disappointed, one, we guarantee that we're going to be disappointed, and two, you are still disappointed. You haven't protected yourself from anything. You're still going to be upset when you don't get the job. When you go into a new relationship and you're like, I really like this guy, but I'm not going to get too excited about this because we got to see how it's going to work out. I don't really know. We got to see. So you hold back. Well, when you hold back, when your energy is of the, we got to prove some things first, I'm not really sure. Guess what? You're not all in. You're not all in. And that other person doesn't get to see the confident, fiery, passionate, excited you. The you that is the you when you're in love, or at least infatuated. The you that is excited and happy and embracing life. What they experience is the you who's like, I'm not so sure. You have to prove yourself. Here's some hoops, and I'm going to put 2 of them on fire, jump through those. Right? They see the you that's cautious, that's closed, that doesn't take risks, that doesn't have an open heart or an open mind, that is so busy self-protecting that you're not actually living through what it is you want to create in your life. So when you enter a relationship already thinking it's going to fail, yeah, it's going to fail. Because you're not putting the energy into it to see where it could go, because you're not willing to take the risk of a broken heart. And here's the deal. When the relationship fails, you're going to get a broken heart anyway. Because some part of you really liked that person and just didn't want to acknowledge the risk. Self-trust is where we understand and we buy into this idea that we can survive anything. We can survive it. It's going to suck. There's no way that life is not going to throw really difficult challenges at us. There's just no way. This is what life is. Life is a series of challenges that have to do with ourselves and our health and our relationships and our kids and our work and our finances. There's always something that's being tossed at us. If deal with that, right? It's just how life is. So we can go through it with this lack of self-trust where we wait either for other people to fix it, or we're always in this victim mode. So what do? We accept the crumbs that we get. We simply accept what's tossed our way, and we never step up and own who we are or what we want. And a lot of times we end up not knowing what we want. We never get to that place of self-awareness where we truly know our thoughts and feelings because we're so busy protecting ourselves from getting hurt from anything. So when I say that self-trust is the key to everything, it's the key to a successful career, it's the key to launching your business, it's the key to a passionate, wild love affair, whether it's temporary or permanent, it's the key to strong relationships with your kids, with your parents, with your friends. It's the key to what you build in your home and the kind of culture you create for your family or for your team at work. It's all of that. Because all of that stems from your belief in yourself, your trust in yourself. And that trust in yourself is the anchor that says, I can survive all of this. I can handle all of this and still get what I want out of life. So one of the reasons I went over kind of, where does it come from? We don't trust ourselves because of old patterns from our parents or our family or a teacher who told you something you tried that you were new at. Oh, you're terrible at that. You shouldn't do that. So you never did it again. And now you don't trust yourself because it was something you really loved, but apparently you were terrible at it, so clearly you don't know yourself, right? All these things that pile on to why we can't trust ourselves, what are they really? They're really just other people's opinions that we've internalized and that we've conditioned ourselves to believe. So, how do we let go of this? I'm going to look at my notes really quick here to make sure I covered everything. How do we let go of this? And how do we let go? How do we find the key? How do we find the key to self-trust? First and foremost, what I want you to remember is that the lack of trust, right, is fear. Because the fear is that we're going to fail. The fear is that we're going to disappoint somebody. The fear is that we're going to look silly or stupid or just not succeed, right? Fear does not coexist with love. And love is where success lives. Those two cannot coexist, and there's a very clear reason why. Because anytime we make a decision from one place, we are incapable of behaving from the other place. If I have a choice to make about my career, and let's just say I have a job opportunity on the table, and I have to decide whether I'm going to stay put or whether I'm going to go after the new job. If I'm choosing from a place of fear, then the decision I'm making is based on what's going to keep me safest. And maybe it's financial security, or maybe it's, or maybe instead of financial security, what's more important to me is work-life balance. But I'm trying to protect something. When we make a decision from a place of fear, we are trying to protect something. That is the exact opposite of if I make a choice from a place of love, then I'm not choosing a role because it's saving me from something or it's protecting me from something. I'm choosing a role because it's helping me go somewhere. It's helping me grow. It's helping me live out my dream. We make very different choices when we come at it from fear versus a place we love. Think about walking into an argument with your partner, right? Pick something that you've argued about 100 times and look at it from the perspective of we have this fight, and when I respond to it from fear, and my fear might be that he gets mad, and so I automatically react a certain way. Or my fear might be that he doesn't do what I want him to do, and so I react a certain way. Fear-based responses. I'm trying to control a situation because I'm afraid it won't work out. Look at that same argument from a place of love, which is I have my perspective, he has his perspective. I just need to be clear about mine, and I need to be clear about my boundaries. We express that in a very different way than how we express the whole, you're not behaving and you need to do what I want you to do. It's polar opposite perspectives. So remember that fear and love do not coexist. They don't. But you can choose to make any decision from one place or the other. So the key to self-trust is the key to living in a place of love, in a place of where you trust yourself. So if you've lost your key, or if you have your key now, but you're going to lose it in the future. We all lose this key. We lose it repeatedly over the course of our lives. This is how life works, right? Like I said, life throws stuff at us. We get shaken up. We drop the key. We misplace the key. How do we find it again? So first and foremost, know thyself. And excuse me, I got something in my throat. You have to know yourself first. The whole heart of this key, excuse me, the whole heart of this key is knowing what it is you want in the first place. So know your values. Know what's important to you. Know what you want out of your life. What do you want this mosaic that is your career and your friends and your family and your home? What do you want that to look like? And I don't want you to think about it today, because what you think about today, trust me, you're going to think about it today in terms of what's possible, what's reasonable, what's rational. I want you to go back to when you were 5 years old. When you were 5 years old and life hadn't yet told you that you weren't good enough, that your dreams were impossible. Because when we were like 4 and 5 years old and we played pretend, yeah, we were going to be the first woman president on the moon, planting a garden, and we weren't wearing those ridiculous helmets. And to us, at age 4 or 5, that's perfectly reasonable. That's totally doable. We were going to be the next rock star on stage singing nothing but lullabies to put all the babies to sleep. Not ridiculous. It was possible. It still is possible. As we get older, right, and adults and other people tell us, that's not a good idea, or you're not very good at that, right? We get this conditioning. First and foremost, if you're going to find the key to self-trust, is know yourself. So go back to the 4-year-old you, the 5-year-old you, and tap into, what do I want out of this life? What makes me happy? Fastest, simplest exercise actually to get there is the values exercise. So I have a cheat sheet. I'm happy to share it with you guys. That is a quick values exercise for what are your top 5 values? Because what that tells you is how you're making decisions today. What are the values with which you today are making your choices? And values, we choose them. So if the values you're using today are not in alignment with where 5-year-old you wanted to go and still wants to go, it's time to change them up. So first and foremost, know yourself. Spend some time getting to know yourself so that you know the you that you're trying to trust, that you need to get in touch with. Second, make the commitment to yourself. And by this, I mean, make a plan. Make a plan for this life. If the 5-year-old you was passionate and excited about a way of life, a career plan, or just something you wanted in your life, you want a dozen cats, okay. Maybe today you only have 2. You're going to have to work your way up to a dozen, right? 5-year-old you wanted to be president. Okay, let's figure out the plan to be president, but make the plan. We are not successful when we do not make concrete plans. And by that, I mean write it down, physically write it down. Make your plan. And I'm going to say one step further, pen and paper. Write it down with pen and paper, because we connect more with our thoughts when we actually physically write it out as opposed to typing, okay? I know typing's faster sometimes, but use the pen. So make a plan. Third, create the boundaries for your plan. Know your values, know your plan, create the boundaries. This is critical. Flexing those boundaries too far means you have no more boundaries. When we don't have boundaries, we have given permission for everybody else to also cross those boundaries. If we can't hold our own boundaries, we do not have the right to expect anyone else to hold the boundaries either. We, first and foremost, have to hold our boundaries. And here's the other piece, next piece, 4. So 1 is what I say, know yourself. 2, create the plan. 3, create the boundaries. 4, critical, accountability. Be accountable for the choices you make, which means holding your own boundaries, which means you have to stop lying to yourself. Every time, I know it sounds harsh, right? I don't mean it. It is harsh, but I don't mean it in a harsh way, in a loving way. Stop lying to yourself. Every time we say we want to lose weight, and then we turn around and eat a whole sleeve of Oreos, do we want to lose weight? We made a different choice. We are not accountable to our choices. That choice is not in alignment with the plan that we made, with the wholeheartedness that we created when we got in touch with who we are and what we wanted out of life. When we say that we want to be a yogi or be a runner, then we create the plan that says we're going to go run 2 or 3 times a week, or we're going to go to yoga 2 or 3 times a week, and then we do it, because then every time we make an excuse for not going and for not following through, we lie to ourselves. And we know we lie to ourselves. This is not a hidden thing. We know that we're lying to ourselves. When we lie to ourselves, we make it okay for other people to lie to us too. So those are the 4 key pieces. Know yourself, commit to yourself, create the boundaries, and be accountable for your choices. They have to be in alignment with your boundaries and with your values. So, 5th and final step, get support. Get support and get help. These are long-standing conditionings. It's not the right word. These are long-standing habits, right? We have been preconditioned to a lot of these behaviors of mistrust, of our own mistrust from childhood. So take your time, find yourself a therapist, find yourself a coach, find yourself a support group, but find somebody who can help you unwind some of these patterns, because they take time. I can give you the steps to go through and you can absolutely practice these, but these take time. This is not going to fix this in a weekend kind of thing. So find yourself support for how you're going to change patterns so that you now have far more trust in yourself. You know where that key to self-trust is, and you know how to plug it into your heart and turn it on when you need to. All right. Thank you for joining me tonight on The One Key. The one key to success across all areas of your life is self-trust. It is trusting yourself, trusting who you are, trusting what you believe in, trusting that you can make it happen. And then acting in alignment so that you go do the thing. You go make it happen. I want to add before I let you go tonight, thank you all for joining me. Tomorrow night is the 21st. It's Wednesday. We have a workshop tomorrow night. If you want to go a little bit deeper in some of these areas, and we're not going to dive completely into all elements of self-trust, but a lot of this work is in the workshop tomorrow night. The workshop tomorrow night is called Lead Like a Boss. We're going to go through the 5 pillars of leadership. It is an active workshop. We're going to be doing some of these exercises as we go in the class. Normally, if I hold a master class, we do a little bit of back and forth, but really it's me presenting information and material to you. Tomorrow night's a workshop. We're going to be doing exercises. I'm going to be asking you to do the exercises in the workshop and participate. So, would love to have you there. It's called Lead Like a Boss. We're going to go over 5 pillars of leadership and confidence building. That's going to help spring you into action, and it's going to touch on some of these things that we talked about tonight. So, if you haven't joined the workshop and you want to, drop the word BOSS in the chat below, and I will send you the registration for that. If you want the values exercise that I mentioned earlier, drop the word values in the chat, and I'm happy to send you that worksheet as well. So values, if you want the worksheet that gets you started on getting to know yourself better. Boss, if you want the link to register for tomorrow night's workshop, Wednesday the 21st at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, called Lead Like a Boss. And thank you, ladies, for joining me tonight. I hope you found this useful and helpful, and I look forward to talking to you again.